Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's a piece of propaganda that to this day still has many people fooled? Diamonds are rare and valuable, and that lab-created gems aren't real. I've read that lab-created gems, including diamonds, contain the exact same composition as regular out-of-the-dirt gems, except since they are made in a lab, there are little to no imperfections. Which I think is pretty cool. Besides, why spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on gems of sometimes questionable origin, see conflict diamonds, when the man-made alternative is cheaper, more ethical, and no one can really tell the difference unless they are an expert. Dark roast coffee having more caffeine than light roast. People still don't believe me. The lighter the roast, the more caffeine. The greener the bean, the more caffeine. If it's clear and yellow, you've got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town. Working at a cafe, all kinds of people would say give me a strong one, and I made a point of asking strong in flavor, or strong in caffeine. And when they, always, said caffeine, I'd go for the light roast, to their confusion. Same. I always asked that clarifying question. Sometimes customers would be appreciative of the question or kind of annoyed like I was being pretentious. I had an incredibly annoying regular who claimed he could taste the difference and only wanted French roast. We never screwed with anything else of his, but he rarely actually got French roast. He would always compliment us on how good our French roast was. Dude, you smoked like a chimney and chewed tobacco, no fucking way could you tell the difference between fresh French roast and day-old Sumatran. That carrots make you see better in the dark. The claim originated with the British to explain why they were shooting down so many German planes. They had actually invented radar. Edit just because this is blowing up and it's tangentially related. Rabbits shouldn't really eat carrots much at all, they are too high in sugar and lack the nutrients they need. The whole rabbit/carrot thing dates back to the origin of Bugs Bunny, who in an early cartoon mimicked a famous Clark Gable movie scene involving eating tons of carrots. Eventually the carrot became Bugs' trademark gimmick, and we've all since linked rabbits love carrots. But please, don't feel carrots to your rabbits, folks, they're bad for them. The British had invented radar, but the Germans knew they had. Radar installations were actually some of the first target bombed in the initial stages of the Battle of Britain. What the Germans didn't know was that the British had developed a radar set small enough to be carried in an aircraft. So when the British suddenly started finding and shooting down German aircraft in the middle of the night, the British needed a cover story. That's where the carrots make you see better at night story comes from. Fun fact: carrots were specifically chosen because it was one of the foodstuffs the British had in ample supply, so they wanted to promote their consumption. Another fun fact: carrots do improve your nighttime visions, but to make a perceivable difference you'd need to eat so many carrots it would actually turn you orange. That the woman who spilled hot coffee on herself was an irresponsible idiot who filed a frivolous lawsuit. Edit: to clarify, she was horribly burned and the lawsuit was absolutely not frivolous. Too busy didn't Google. TBDG, McDonald's according to policy served coffee at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. The attorney for the woman argued that was too hot and coffee shouldn't be served hotter than 140 degrees Fahrenheit, along with expert testimony saying that coffee that hot will produce third-degree burns in 3 seconds vs coffee at 140 degrees Fahrenheit would take 20 seconds, enough time to react and prevent injury. The cream on the coffee of this story is McDonald's argued that their customers are commuters who want to drink the coffee several minutes after purchase. However, their own internal research showed that customers want to consume coffee right away. And between 1982 and 1992, McDonald's received over 700 complaints or burns from their coffee. In the end, the jury found McDonald's 80% responsible and the lady 20% responsible, and awarded her 160 Kelvin of the 200 Kelvin she was suing for plus 2.7 million in punitive damage. Also should be mentioned that the judge ultimately reduced the damage award, which is pretty common, and the woman didn't end up getting anywhere close to millions. And all this when all she initially wanted was for McDonald's to pay for her travel and other minor expenses, plus her daughter's lost wages as she had to take care of the recovering woman. It would have only been a couple of $1,000, instead McDonald's tried to act coy and ended up paying 6 figures. Good job, McDonald's legal counsel. This and that lady who sued her nephew who hugged her and she hurt her wrist. People dubbed her the aunt from hell. Turns out she needed to have a lawsuit around the whole situation to pay medical bills and the whole family was okay with it. Specifically for the state she lived in, the insurance company was refusing to pay a fair sum until a lawsuit had been filed, which was completely legal. The first payout that the insurance company offered was $1 IIRC. Much like the MCDs suit the bad actors in general for stuff like this are more likely to be insurance companies or corporate lawyers. The insurance company was betting that the aunt wouldn't sue a family member, which is usually the case, but she did, and the story was all about the lawsuit rather than the insurance company trying to get out of paying a legitimate claim. That one Lemmings documentary saying they'll all follow herd mentality and will run off a cliff if one of them does it. The film crew actually chased them off the cliffs. Jesus, I'm so sorry that I misunderstood the question of what propaganda is. Some of you are very rude. You always act like that to people who don't speak English as a first language. They didn't just chase them off a cliff, they literally gathered a herd of them, drove them to a filming spot where lemmings aren't even found, and rigged up a contraption that forced them off and just used editing to make it look like they ran off. Edit: the reason they gathered a herd and drove them somewhere else is because the documentary they were doing was about Arctic wildlife. They paid for a bunch of lemmings to be taken to downtown Calgary, a Canadian town near the Canada-America border, very far away from the Arctic, for easy filming. They also took a polar bear cub and put it in a film studio in Calgary and faked it falling down an ice slope. Holy shit, what the fuck? Fucky Disney, man. To be clear, the misconception predates Disney. They wanted footage of the phenomenon but didn't want to wait around by a cliff long enough to verify it doesn't happen. GS is high in iron. This was used to market beer to pregnant women. For real. 1 ounce of nuts has twice as much iron as a GS. In Ireland, GS was given to new mothers after they gave birth in the hospital. My Irish mother was told she could drink a glass of GS while pregnant, probably explains why me and my brother are thick as shit lol. My granddad has hemochromatosis. What he loved most about having to have blood taken regularly was that he was told to drink a pint of GS afterwards to replenish his iron. He was very irked when that recommendation turned to orange juice. That doesn't make any sense at all. The whole point of bloodletag to treat hemochromatosis is to remove the excess iron. Why would he be told to go out and replace it? That fat in food is bad for you. In Germany there's the saying Die Dosis macht das Gift, which means the dose makes the poison / it's the dose that makes the poison. It's true for so much, including virtually everything in food like salt, sugar and also fat. Edit. A lot of folks pointed out that the point where it is too much is relatively low for sugar and that sugar intake itself is not actually necessary for the human body. I'll probably stop looking at this thread now. It's a saying in English, too, and apparently it was originally a Latin saying, credited to Paracelsus. Food drives are massive propaganda. People believe that donating their unwanted food to a food bank helps people. Yes. It's a really nice thing to do, and absolutely creates goodwill and makes people feel good about themselves. It's a lovely thing to have children do to exercise / tune their empathy. Many of the donations are unusable, expired, damaged, and the cost of sorting and transporting donations can actually exceed its value to a food bank. If you want to help hungry people in your community, donate your time or money to your local food bank. On the flip side, please use your local food bank before you're in crisis, before you're homeless, before the electric is turned off. We want you to use the services as the first line of defense if you're struggling, not the last. I donate cash to my regional food bank and the food bank at my church. More than once I've encountered people going, well, food stamps didn't cover what we needed so I didn't pay the water bill. No. Find a way to pay the water bill because you need water, and cost to reconnect is an outrageous expense. There are at least 3 places I can point you to feed your family. Getting water bill help is much harder. 1000%. Within the ecosystem of helping organizations in an area, it's always easiest to find food over any other type of assistance from your local charities / non-profits and government agencies. The term carbon footprint. It was coined by British Petroleum, BP, to shift the responsibility of climate change onto the common people. https://mashable.com/feature. Same thing with plastic recycling and the numbers on plastics. It was a marketing ploy to convince people it was okay to buy plastic goods and not worry about plastic pollution, even though no one was really recycling anything, and even today a majority of plastics are not recycled. They shifted the responsibility to consumers and covered up the problem. Planet Money has a podcast on it, Wasteland, September the 11th, 2020, explaining what happened and is still happening in plastics and petroleum industry. That you have a waiting period prior to reporting a missing person. There isn't one. If you have reason to believe they are missing, it's, unsurprisingly, worse to wait and you should report them missing ASAP. The first 24 hours are the most crucial in finding a missing person. The chance of finding the person alive decreases drastically every single hour that goes by.